Welcome aboard the News Review. We dig in with Samuel Kojo Brace. Sam, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Let's start off from that 2-hour delivery yesterday by the Vice President. He says His Excellency the President is creating a new economy, that they are trying to re-establish our economy, and that the industrial sector, for example, has grown twice of what it had done within a specific period. He talks about the exchange rate, the cedi, its depreciation and all of that. He talks about fiscal measures, a whole lot that he spoke about yesterday. What are your key takeaways before we start with the Daily Graphic newspaper, which also captures some of that?
Mine will be for the...
Are you going to the agri sector?
No, well, that's of interest to me.
Right.
But if we take the whole citizenry, everybody is looking at how my life is being bettered by the... Exactly. Like in the past, we were told, so that's what people are looking at.
Right.
Good exposition about where we are. But the impact people will feel would be measured by their, standard of living.
Right.
So yes, the industry will be growing at this rate, agri at this rate, but how the person is measuring government is not about the figures. It is about how the person feels. So
it's reflecting, and of course that's why a lot of people say that yes, the macro economy on a larger scale, but the micro economy is important, because that's where we talk about the trickle-down effect into individual pockets. Into, there are times when people will say, okay, so during this regime or that regime, whether the MPP or NDC, maybe I could go out and do some and get this and that. But now you try back and
so all this why people are asking, where is the leader of the economic management team? So it's good he's come out to speak. Now we know...
Don't you think it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction? Because to be honest, and not to be unfair to the Vice President, digitization and digitalization feed into the economy. But if you look at the circumstances under which he became,
the
Vice President, how many were they? Those questions he had for Pakwesi and Mr. Arthur.
Was it 77?
So you note that we know him specifically for a certain area.
Yeah.
Economics, guru, going to transform the economy. And you also recall something that we've done here, Araba Kumsin has had in one of her editorials, how they spoke about the economic management team. So the expectations were that lofty, that high. You get it? So some people are struggling to grapple with the fact that, whoa, we've not heard from you on the back of all of these.
Yes.
So
yesterday he painted a picture that, yes, I'm still in charge. But you see, all this while he was saying that there are things we've not done. We've not digitized our economy. So we are losing out on the benefit of that area. And so, yes, I am the leader of the economy. But once you are the leader, I'm sure you delegate powers.
Right.
So he comes across as someone who is the leader, but says, you handle A, B, C, I will handle this. Because that's somewhat of a gray area in terms of how our economy has been couched. So, yes, he's someone that eventually people call that, when are you coming, when are you coming? He's come out to speak. Now we have to dissect whatever he gave us yesterday and to come out with the nitty-gritty of it, let people understand that this is what he said and this is what it means.
And we'll do exactly that as we get into the Daily Graphic. And I feel though, just to chip in, it's interesting, that portfolio, the Vice President's portfolio, it comes with being head of the economic management.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
You get it?
Yes.
So John Dramani Mahama was there.
He was.
We've had other people.
Pakwesi
Mahama has been in there. Pakwesi and Mr. Arthur. You realize that sometimes we try to...
Professor Atta Mills himself was one.
Professor Atta Mills himself. We had Aka.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah.
Also in that position. But it's not always that we have someone with a background that even suits. The person is head, but not necessarily an economist.
Yeah.
But I think one of the issues why the Vice President is being taken on is the fact that he is an economist. And again, like I said, what he wrote on to his parties coming into power also made him sort of, you're an economist, you are fitting as in it there as head of the economic management team. So the expectations, again.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because usually you would not have someone with a very strong background. I mean, if, for example, in the last election, the NDC had one, would have had Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman in there, an educationist.
Yes, yeah.
You get the picture.
Yes, I do.
So there's more on the shoulders of Dr. Bawumia when it comes to this issue. But let's look at the headlines in the papers now, starting with the Daily Graphic. Collaborate to restore productivity of marine life, President to ACP states. Then there's, we're building new economy, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia says. So like I mentioned, we're building a new economy under the leadership of President Akufo-Addo. And he said, we must celebrate our achievements, big or small, and not seek to tarnish or belittle them for the sake of politics. I wholly agree with him on that. Notwithstanding the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Bawumia posited that the agricultural sector was growing at double the rate it grew in the previous 4 years. The industrial sector was growing at double the rate of the previous 4 years, while the services sector had recorded a higher growth than in the previous 4 years. So mind you, he's talking about the agri sector, He's talking about industry, for example. And he said issues about the national economies and how well individual countries were handling their respective economic situations appeared to be the most important things on people's minds in recent times. And that from the man on the street to the business mogul, the food we ate, the clothes we wore, the shelter we sought or had, to the benevolence we extended to friends and family, the health of the economy was the cardinal instrument. And there again, he is completely correct because, I mean, if you look at, I was following recently, what's even the word? When people send money from abroad, Ghanaians sending money from abroad. You know, the trickle down of that, it's huge. The remittances, it's huge. And you look at the global impact and the fact that maybe things may not be as coming through like they were before. Because that's, when you look at our GDP, that's quite a component as well, foreign remittances. When they are affected because of the global situation, and we ourselves are struggling here, you see that it's quite...
It doesn't paint a good picture.
He also, you want to come in before I talk about food prices? Because I felt you might be keen on coming in.
Give me on the food.
So he said the FAO Global Food Price Index increased from 95.1 at the end of 2019 to 140.7 in February 2022, an increase of 48%, adding that the increase in commodity prices had been exacerbated by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. I think sometime in February or so, we recorded our highest rate when it comes to food inflation. In the country, in the history of the country. But of course, around the same time, we had also been looking at projections, I think by the World Bank or some other institution, that the cost of food would rise on a global scale. But here, I mean, it was pretty dire.
No, yes, and you see, the people who are into grain farming, like maize, like those cereals, have been talking about the fact that there are no fertilizers on the market, and therefore, a lot of them have given signal that they would want to divert from those areas into other areas. So the bit about food prices on the market increasing will probably still be there, because I have spoken to the Ministry of Agri on fertilizer prices, and they tell me, look, we don't manufacture fertilizers here in Ghana.
Recently, they've been talking about going to Dangote. He has established...
Exactly, in Nigeria.
And I think, you see, what we lack is the foresight. The foresight, because you don't wait. We're always reacting to things rather than
last week
proactively addressing
I was telling you
crucial
about
issues.
This petroleum hub. I think it's a project that really we want to tackle a lot of things in the country, especially with fertilizer. We have to look at it. We have to look at how we can actualize that dream as soon as practicable, because that has...
Because the phosphate is a derivative.
Yes. And it has
of the petroleum we're producing.
And
so why are we not
there?
Though I admit, we're producing on a smaller scale. But even if you wanted to target the agri-sector, are we saying we can't do that and produce enough fertilizer to cater, for... I was just looking yesterday, and it was so interesting. I was looking at just a towel. And it's combed.
Nowadays, if you say towel, you have to explain. There's
a towel for.
Okay.
And of course, I've forgotten whether it's combed cotton or something, but it's Egyptian.
Okay.
And I was just telling myself, even this we can't do in Ghana. Do you get how pathetic it is?
Yeah, interesting.
So basic. We're importing face towels, body towels, and all of that from Egypt, from other countries. So the very basics we can do here, we're not doing. And once we keep up like this, there's no way we're going to industrialize and catch up with the rest of the world.
That is why this government said, I'm going to do 1D, 1F. And we thought that all of these things will come off, you know. But I'm thinking they may want to take it step by step. But importantly, they opened a fertilizer plant somewhere in the eastern region. I was asking the Ministry of Agriculture about it, and they said, oh, that is not really a manufacturing plant. It is, you know, you bring the component from outside and then repackage of a sort. Right. So we really have to get these, you know, import substitution companies here, where we produce some things that we import locally. That is where we're able to say, okay, we have substituted ABC that we used to import, and thereby creating jobs and affecting our economy in a positive manner. So I think this whole 1D, 1F must be looked at again. We have to prioritize what we do use in Ghana most often. Fertilizer is something that we should by now have been able to lobby a company to come in here to set up a factory. Right. Our economy is an agrarian one. Now we may be diversifying a little, but still it relies on agri.
I mean, and it's still one of the backbones of our economy.
And that's why it's important we need to lobby an investor to come into that area to set up a fertilizer plant.
And a lot of the agriculture we do is not even on a large scale, like you would find in the United States and Brazil, in these countries that are seeking to get up there. We're still doing the hoe and cutlass farming.
Although
a lot of the time.
Although we are improving, but yes, peasant farming is huge in Ghana. But we can still leverage on that and build our sector. It's possible, it's doable. Anyway.
Well, let me just wrap on the daily graphic. So the irreplaceable Adjwasafo, it's a thought shared there by Enemil Ashon. It's on page 7. In the middle spread, President Akufo-Addo bestows Grand Medal on outgoing U.S. ambassador. I'm talking about Madam Sullivan. On the back page, there is the Bank Hospital establishes modern dialysis unit. And I remember a story I had to do on this, starting from social media. I was part, you know where the Bank Hospital is? Yeah. In the cantonments area. And it had been left fallow for a long time. Same that I did with the University of Ghana Medical Center. It took quite a bit, but eventually that facility was brought to bear. The final bit, and it's a sad one, former Second Lady Hajiya Ramatu Aliu Mahama. She's passed. Our condolences to the family.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the Ghanaian Times. I think we've dealt a lot more on the Bawumia thing, so let's move on to other stories. There will be no Doomsaw Energy Ministry Paris claim. Yesterday, we spoke to the Energy Ministry on the Pulse, and also we spoke with Dr. Kwabena Donko, former Power Minister, on the Prime News.
The one who put his neck on the line.
Yes.
That if he didn't do so within his tenure.
Sure. He was making a point that, yes, we ended it, but if we don't add on, you know, now we've added a lot of factories. The 1D, 1F has brought on a number of factories, and they are all feeding onto the grid. Right. Now, if we don't increase our installed capacity and we rely on what we have, we may find ourselves in the situation we were in between 2013 and 2016, when things were so difficult in terms of keeping the power on. I think
it's interesting hearing that from him, because at the same time, you know, major brokers in that space, energy folk. I remember speaking to Andre Ejapa Mercer, the Deputy Energy Minister, who will tell you that our capacity is way more than we need. If that be the case, and I've mentioned here, and his response was not, you know, very favorable, that why don't we then fill the gap exactly through that? Industrialize, because as you industrialize, what are these entities going to feed on? Electricity. They all run on electricity.
I saw his to be like a caution that whilst we try to use up the installed capacity, let us also think about adding on. Maybe it's a discussion that those in the sector can have to say, is it time for us to think about adding on, or we rather have to look at how we can utilize what we have. Let's see what we can do to avoid what we had in 2013, 2015, thereabout, because that was really,
if you ask
really
me,
hectic.
I would say that only time will tell, but in terms of our installed capacity and what we're doing with what we have, if the right measures are not put in place, who knows, maybe 5 to 10 years, we could be back into that situation again. Because we seem to fall into a vicious cycle where certain things are done. Instead of tying the loose ends, we leave the ends loose. In some 3, 5, 10 years, then you see us going back to situations. Because you remember, under Rawlings, around 1999, we had some issues to do with power.
Yes.
Before the Kufuor left, we had issues. In the Atta Mills Mahama era, we had issues.
Yeah.
So you see that it's a constant flow. And like I said, we're always failing to think ahead. Imagine Dr. Kwame Nkrumah positioning Tema as an industrial hub and saying this will sort of drive the industrial development of our country. And then he gives us Akosombo. At the time, people were saying it's a no-brainer. We don't have, our population is just about 6 million. And look at us today.
Futuristic.
The thinking.
Interesting. Maybe the fact about him saying that within the next 2-3 years is what people will disagree with him. But let's see how this goes. Let's still stay in the power sector where ECG is giving 6 institutions 3 days to pay 8.2 million cedis of face disconnection. A bit of the story. It says 6 state institutions which owe the Electricity Company of Ghana a combined amount of 8,213,237 cedis have been given 3 working days to pay their debt of phase disconnection. According to the ECG, the Minister of Communications owe 5 million United Nations Development Program UNDP 558,014 cedis, National Information Technology Agency NITA 1.5 million. And all of these, the ECG says, if you don't pay within 3 days, we will disconnect you. Interesting. I hope that next time we won't wait for ECG to come and warn us, because we've been accusing them of not collecting the monies that they...
So now they're on a drive.
Exactly.
You remember they cited the KIA?
Yeah, they disconnected them from...
millions of CDs.
Yes.
The Finance Ministry, that was an interesting one. They owed over 400,000 CDs. The Finance Ministry.
Anyway. Anyway, let's see. But I'm happy that they are doing this, because people have to pay for what you use. You know, it's
so in this latest one, the story is also captured here. In the disconnect Communication Ministry, NITA, UNDP, others over 8.1 million Ghana cedi debt. I am interested though in the UNDP. Almost.
Anyway. Let's see how this goes. Interesting. I don't know, but since they've given them the notice that if you don't pay, we'll disconnect you, I'm sure the ACG should be updating us on how this is going. You know? Right.
Let's take a quick look at the final newspaper. Public debt, 50.1 billion Ghana cedis borrowed for 3 expenses, attracting 8.5 billion Ghana cedis interest annually. That's according to Dr. Bawumia. Let's just go back there to take a quick look. That story is on pages 4 and 5. And so it talks about the fact that an amount of 50.1 billion Ghana cedis of current public debt stock, equivalent of some $7 billion, was borrowed to cumulatively finance 3 expenditure items. And he's referencing some of the borrowing that we've done. Cost of the 3 expenditure items, these are financial sector cleanup, 25 billion Ghana cedis. Mind you, this moved from around 17 billion to 21 billion to around 24 billion. Now there's talk of 25 billion Ghana cedis. Excess capacity charges to independent power producers, 17 billion. And COVID-19 pandemic, 8.1 billion Ghana cedis. So that's what...
Ben, on the banking sector clean, I think that we need to be asking questions. Why?
And I've been asking them recently because it appears we're still bleeding on the back of something that we're supposed to have mopped up. We're still shedding a lot of money.
Why what is accounting for the differences? You give us that we need 9 billion from the start, if you remember.
Right.
To clean up
even before it shot up to around 14, then 17.
And then it's been jumping. So we need to be educated so we can flow with them. We need to understand what is causing this, what is bringing about all of these differences in the figure that would need to clean the sector. You know, we need to probably have a national discourse on that one. The government should open up more. Let us understand that, okay, AB was used for C and D. But if you just give us 25 billion for banking sector cleanup, what are the little ingredients of that 25 billion?
Right.
else you would leave people to conjecture, and that's not good.
And that is dangerous.
Yeah.
But just to give some, not an answer, but understanding to this, it was also mentioned that the receiver will be retrieving assets worth that sum. So of the 3 exceptional items, Dr. Bawumia said, apart from the renegotiating the terms of the IPP agreements, it is important that the receiver for the financial institutions retrieves the assets of the institutions to defray a significant portion of this 25 billion.
What did you say?
It is a significant portion. How significant the portion will be, we can all conjecture. But if you look at even the flow up to this point, in terms of how much the receivers have been able to mop up, does that create a very hopeful... So these are the problems.
I was coming up to the point that we need to also look at depreciation. We are saying that they should, sell out these assets. Have we talked about depreciation of these assets?
The value and all of that.
Yes, because the car that they might have bought for 1 million in 2016 definitely cannot be sold in 2022 for $1 million.
I'm sure all those considerations.
But that's what I'm saying, that they should open up to us so that we can understand. So as a citizen, if I'm asked anywhere, I can boldly say, oh, they have said that they've used ABCD to go into this, and then when we are retrieving from them, we'll be able to retrieve A, B, and C. But if you just leave it at the fact that the receiver is expected to raise this.
And I feel sometimes that's where I feel aggrieved as a media person, because they must facilitate our getting this information so we can also pass it on to the public. The information minister was saying we should take advantage of the RTI.
Yes.
But he even put in petitions and all of that. You are slapped with huge sums. And I mean, when you create that bottlenecks, it's not going to be the best of processes.
We should keep exploring it, so that the citizens will also know that, yes, we are using it, and this is what they are giving us.
Final bit from the Finder. Ramadan. Acidic fruits are a bad choice to break a fast. That's what is being said here. So you would want to avoid some of those acidic fruits, the citrus fruits and all of that. If you're breaking your fast, don't go immediately for those ones. You might want to settle for other things. Because, our brothers and sisters, sometimes you would see them immediately with oranges and the rest. Not exactly the best because you fasted and all of that, and now straight acidic content.
There's obviously nothing in there for the acid to work on.
Exactly.
So you need to eat something.
Exactly.
So that when you take in the citrus, then the acidic content can work on the food that you've eaten. That's why this one is saying that. I remember in school we're told that sometimes we do certain things and then the organisms that work on the food might think that we are eating. That's where
they start
comes
exactly.
So we need to watch that.
Because basically they'll be gnawing at your stomach walls or lining or something of the sort.
Anyway, Daily Guide newspaper still has Bawumia mesmerizes at economy lecture, ruffles the NDC. Anyway,
in this country, I always say that depending on which paper you pick, you can guess which slant they will give the story.
Hajia Ramatu Mahama has said
sad
very, very sad one. The son yesterday wrote that his mother passed on peacefully.
We thank God for that.
Yeah, that's what.
May God grant her. I think they call it Juma. Is it?
Yeah, I think that's the word.
Or is it Jana?
I'm not really.
Okay, I'll check. My Muslim brothers and sisters, I'm sure they will start sending.
Great. Ministry denies 10 million cedis Galamsey confab allegation. It comes with a picture of Samuel Abujanapo, who is the minister. You remember that I think Al Hassan Suhuyini threw an allegation out there on the floor of Parliament that per his record or what things that he have in his disposal, the ministry spent 10 million to do that confab on getting how to deal with illegal small-scale mining. But the ministry
so Kojo Brace, we're going to sit and talk about how to resolve a major problem.
Yeah.
And we spent how much again?
That's according to him. The ministry says it's not true, that they didn't spend anything like that. I'm sure when the Auditor General does his work, would know. Those
ones, by the time the Auditor General gets there, Asemna Aseyo, Pascal. You know why I'm saying that, right?
Because
by the time the report comes out, I think has happened already.
A bit of a challenge. You see, dealing with Galamsey, I was always saying that we are not handling it well. See, if we want to deal with small-scale mining, the guys in there know how to deal with it. When they talk about let's suspend every activity, I told people in Western that, look, this is not how to deal with it. Because we know
Galamsey and all those
we
things.
know that there are several sides to this Galamsey thing. We have the alluvial, we have those who go, like the pit or underground. Those who go underground should not have been part of, let's stop it all at a go. We should rather have focused on the water. But I mean, that's past now. But we need to interrogate this whole 10 million thing. The ministry has come out to say it is not true. Let's do a bit of a better work on it to understand how much did they use for those confabs that they did. Because I remember they went to the Asankragua area to do that, because that's a Galamsey haven. They did one in Accra here. Let's understand how much went into all of that and what were the outcomes. Right. Because I know during the era of Charles Bisu and Professor Frimpong, I think they had a document, the MMIP,
right,
which was about dealing with Galamsey. What happened to that document? What happened to the roadmap?
What happened to the document? What happened to the people in charge? Whom we saw in some instances, engaging in certain activities
we sent people to
that were contrary to their portfolios.
We sent people to UMAT to be trained in drone operations, on how we can use drone to tackle the menace. We did a lot of training for people.
Can I tell you something?
Tell me.
We can regulate small-scale mining or Galamsey in the country if we wanted to. You know why we are not?
Why? Tell me.
Because the powers that be in many sectors and across different portions of our political spectrum have their hands, their feet, their heads, their stomachs in there. It's like the bit about Rosewood.
Yeah.
Their fingers are in there. They will keep telling you we're doing this behind the scenes. They are the same people. Where are the excavators? Our excavators, where are they?
But you see, I'll be shocked if indeed these people are part of those who are funding people to be mining in our water bodies.
But some of these people, it has been said, even when we've spoken about the menace of some people, and I don't like using that Fulani word point, but sometimes we lump all of them together and say that entire menace sometimes that we see. A lot of our people have cattle, like large herds of cattle, and they employ these same people to fund for them. It cuts across, whether it's Galamsey or whatever.
The point I was making was that, look, if you are a leader of a country, or you are part of those who are leading us,
right,
and you are patriotic, you don't do things that would put this country in jeopardy. You know how we are suffering to give people water to drink today?
Right.
If you should go around asking people in their homes, how long have you gotten water from Ghana Water Company?
You should ask me.
Oh, okay.
There was a period I went for months.
You didn't get water?
Without water.
So,
and nowadays, even if it will come, maybe once or twice a week, maximum. You must harvest as much as you can, because else
you don't know when it will come.
La finish.
So that is why I said I'll be shocked indeed to find out if these people who are supposed to ensure that you give us solutions to our needs are the same people who are funding people to say, go into that water body.
Samuel Kojo-Brace, I think you know better.
And to mine it.
We like to talk, but walking the talk and feeling the pain. That is why I know that.
That's why the Small Scale Miners Association is somehow peeved. Right. Because if you want to tackle small scale mining, I think your closest ally should be those guys.
Right.
They can help you deal with it.
But it boggles my mind. You have laws. You have regulations.
Look, Ben.
It's merely about implementing them to... Ben. We can even have foreigners. Do you know the number of foreigners in our country from the West African sub-region, from outside the sub-region, from the likes of China? I mean, milking our country through illegal small-scale mining. And then we organize something, we shoot a few things down. What are the names of those? I've just forgotten. And then we celebrate it. What have those programs ended up with?
Ben, when I was in ATLFM, Cape Coast, there was this research we were doing. We wanted to find out, we're doing a documentary, so I wanted to understand...
The Shangfan, it just came...
Oh, the Shangfan.
Shangfan is on the rest.
Whether we have laws for certain things, I tell you. The sort of laws I realized Ghana has. I was like, wow.
I think in the world we have the best laws and the worst implementation.
Exactly.
Best laws, worst implementation.
That is our problem. That we have laws for everything in Ghana, but when it comes to making sure those laws work, That's where we have our problem.
All right.
Interesting, yeah.
Keep faith with NPP. Bawumia tells Ghanaians that's in the Ghanaian Publisher. And to wrap with the BNFT, Sanitation Minister assures Jospong Group of government support, and we will weather the storm. Veep upbeat about economy. And Bank of Ghana warns against unauthorized forex trading. Final headlines you want to share with us?
Well, the statement, there's something here from the First Lady.
Right.
And I like Mrs. Ekufuado. She says, Ghana can rise above our challenges, inspiring us and motivating us that, look, we can go beyond where we are today. Let's keep faith. Anyway, we can keep faith, but we want them to be very truthful with us, so we can keep faith with them. Right.
No crano, NASM.
Exactly.
It reminds me of my alma mater and my former hall, Commonwealth Hall. You know what
I've always said UCC is the best university, so I don't.
All right. Were you in Casford? Are you a Casford?
No. I'm an Ogua Holler.
Oh, I see.
Premier Hall.
I see. I'm an old vandal. And our catchphrase, our motto, truth stands. Simple. Truth stands.
You guys, anyway, but
Charlie, Kojo, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me, Ben.
And that's how we wrap the news review. But coming up next, we bring you sports. Do stay.